So today we are down in Falmouth, and as part of Full Circle Homes, we're known for historic home restoration. We do a lot of work for individuals, but we'll also work for a lot of organizations. And the organization we're working for today is the Museum on the Greens, which is part of the Falmouth Historical Society. The house that we're working on is the Dr. Francis Wicks house. It's a really exciting story because it goes all the way back to 1790. Now, the design of the house is right on the verge where we changed from the Georgian colonial style to the federal colonial style, and this house is no exception. It's a nice, grand, beautiful house that back in its day would have been a focal point of the green here. Now, Dr. Francis Wicks was a really interesting historical character in the fact that he was one of the first doctors to propel the use of vaccines to, at the time, help with the smallpox epidemic. He spent the rest of his life in medicine, also helped generating a system of poorhouses to be advantageous for people that didn't really have anything in our community. It's all about giving back, and that's what we're doing here at the Francis Wicks Museum. We're doing a little work on the foundation to help support it. We're helping them put an HVAC system in here to keep it nice and climate controlled, and we're doing a little bit of work in the attic. So we're gonna show you what we're up to right now. Hey Eric, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, boss?
Oh, so you got one footing in and you're filling the next one then?
That's it. This one's
Perfect.
good to go.
Excellent.
You want to check it out?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Oh yeah, wow. You can't see much of it at this point, but there's
Yep.
a good sized rebar mat below.
Right.
And then we got these stanchions coming up through.
So you 90'd those, welded them to the base,
Those
and
are
then
90'd
put the
right
concrete
in and welded down.
Nice.
And all you'll see is these boxes in the end.
That's great.
Those will support new columns.
Right.
To carry this old wooden beam here, we're going to put LVLs under here and under this old one.
Yep.
Double barrel some posts, and it'll be really good.
Nice. No, this is the type of thing that we always like to show everyone, because all the hard work Eric and Kevin are doing here, mixing the concrete and putting these footings in, is what ends up supporting a building like this long term. And it's really important to do this correctly so that the building doesn't shift and it gets all the floor support. It's something that most people never get to see, but it's something that we really specialize in. And Eric and Kevin are doing a great job. So we're doing a little bit of work on the back. Right now the guys are bringing concrete into the basement to work on some footings, but as soon as this rain stops, what we're gonna be working on is putting a new cedar roof on the back here and then replacing the doors on this wooden bulkhead. It's important to get every detail right because this is all governed by historic restrictions, so that's what we're gonna do. Let's head inside. So we're doing some work in the basement at the Francis Wicks house, on the outside, and upstairs. So we're gonna take a little walk through and show you the work that we're gonna be doing in the attic. But the thing I do wanna point out is how beautiful this home is inside. It was donated to the Historic Society in the 30s, and they have taken care of it and restored the house over the years. And many of the items inside the house were donated by residents of Falmouth. So anybody that comes down and visits Falmouth during the summertime on the Cape, please come and check out the Museum on the Greens, the Francis Wicks house. The story's amazing, and there's just so much to see. So let's take a walk. The paint colors, the wallpaper, the paneling, these are all amazing examples of period pieces, and they've all been lovingly restored and done correctly. Even the splatter paint on the floors, this is one of my favorites. Yeah, look at the detail, right? All right. Let's take a look in the attic. So one of the things that I really love about houses like this is the opportunity to see the original framing. Now you can see a lot of this wood is very old and dark and aged looking. Well, you can tell by the graining that this is either a fir or a hemlock. It's some type of a pine, right? Now, this particular roof had some changes done to it at one point in time because they wanted to put the widow's walk or the peak up top here. That's what this staircase is for. So what somebody ended up doing is cutting off the collar tie that would tie these principal rafters together. That's what keeps the roof strong and keeps it from moving. You couldn't have this collar tie if you were going to go up the stairs, but what that means is the roof started to sink a little bit and has some deflection on the floor. So what we did is effectively make a knee wall that has almost the effect of a bridge truss that goes across from one rafter to the other, and then we caught all the additional rafters and then added another collar tie up in the peak that we through bolted so that this roof system will not move and will stand steady and secure for years to come. It's all these little details that we try to make sure we put back together. You don't always get to see them when you're walking through a museum like this, but it's one of the things that I think I like the most.
Welcome to the Dr. Francis Wicks House. My name is Rachel Lovett and I'm the Executive Director here at the Falmouth Museums on the Green, otherwise known as the Falmouth Historical Society. We're the oldest historical society on Cape Cod. This beautiful museum is dedicated to Dr. Francis Wicks, who built this house in 1790. I have been the Executive Director for 3 years now, 3 years this June. And in terms of my background, I have had a career in historic house museums. I started out in 2012 in Hanover, Massachusetts. I was Executive Director of the Hanover Historical Society. And then I went to Annapolis, Maryland, where I was Curator and Assistant Director of the Hammond Harwood House Museum. In terms of my educational background, I have a bachelor's from Endicott College and a master's from the Harvard Museum Studies program. I am the daughter of a professional storyteller, and my mother would take my sister and I around to these gorgeous houses on the South Shore of Massachusetts. I think I first fell in love with history when I went to the historic Winslow House in Marshfield, Massachusetts, and there was something very magical about that house, and from there I decided I wanted a career in historic house museums, and it's been a love affair with historic houses ever since. I probably go to a historic house every weekend. It's kind of crazy, really. Some of the issues with the Dr. Francis Wicks house, we had some structural issues, both in the attic and the basement. Also, we needed to put in HVAC. Our collection was suffering. We had mold and deterioration. Also, from a visitor standpoint, it was very challenging to be in the house in July. And so for those reasons, we looked for a company that was local, that had a nice Cape connection, and also had done a lot of work with historic homes. One of our members recommended Full Circle Homes to us, and then of course I've seen your TV show, so we were just overjoyed to make the connection. So Full Circle Homes was just a natural fit.
Hey guys, we are back at the Francis Wicks House in Falmouth today, and I want to show you some of the progress that we've made. Brand new tongue and groove on the bulkhead here. This door has been completely rebuilt. We primed it. It's getting ready for paint. The painters are going to be here soon, so that's all set to go. And we've got a brand new red cedar roof up on this section. There's nothing I like better than red cedar. It smells amazing. It looks perfect. It's going to blend in with the rest of the house, and red cedar roofs last forever. But what I really want to show you is the work that we did down in the basement. Now follow me. Watch your step. It's a doozy. So look at this. This is the type of stuff I was talking about the other day that the people that walk around in the museum wouldn't normally get to see, and most homeowners wouldn't focus on. But here we've got two brand new footings, one here and one on this side. They're reinforced with rebar. And then we've got double barrel posts. These are 6x6 PT posts going up to laminated beams and brand new carriers that are holding the whole entire floor. So this fulfills the engineering requirements that were spec'd out, and this floor system is not gonna budge again. This might look like it's overbuilt, and it definitely is, but we're trying to ensure that this building doesn't move or go anywhere for generations to come. Do it once and do it right. That's our motto. Hey everybody, we are back here at the Museum on the Greens in Falmouth, and we're just about to open up for the 2025 season. So one of the things they tasked us with was not only some of the maintenance that had to be done, like these bulkhead doors that we rebuilt and painted, and the new cedar roof on the little back projection, the addition right here, but also updating and installing HVAC, specifically AC, so that we could keep the property cool and climate controlled and make it more inviting for the thousands of visitors that come down here every single season. Now, you can see the condensers outside here, these Heil condensers here that we had installed. Now these need to breathe. This is the technology that you will see on the exterior. There's no real way around that, but to comply with historic regulations, we didn't do it on the side and we didn't do it on the front, so you can't tell when you drive by the building. But the real thing that I want to show you is what we had to do inside to not interrupt the integrity of the museum, but keep it climate controlled. So follow me. Now we're going to give you a behind the scenes peek of the systems that we installed to keep this museum climate controlled. The visitors that are going to come through and see the collection will never even know any of this is here, but it'll help preserve the building and make it much easier for the accessibility of the general public. Now follow me downstairs. Look at this. Now you would never even know as a visitor to this museum that we have a full AC system down here, right? We've also accompanied the AC with whole house dehumidification. So after we completed our construction down here and put new supports for the floors, we had our HVAC partners at Rollins come in here and install this brand new system. This system will last for years and keep the collection and the whole entire property climate controlled to make it easy and inviting for all of the guests that come down here and see the museum on the greens. You have to make sure when you do an install like this that you get all of your electrics installed on time, you get all of your piping installed properly, you get your compressors installed and your line sets, but you want to do all of this in a way that doesn't interrupt the building and the structure, and you don't want to make it look like something is in this building that shouldn't be here, that's not historically accurate. So if we head back upstairs, I'm going to show you what the public would see if anybody would notice it at all. So as we crawl up out of the basement here, there's something I want to call your attention to, and that would be this piping right next to me. Now, these are the line sets and the line for the condensation pump, which captures any of the excess moisture and runs that down and away. Now, it's important to be able to have these for the system to function correctly, but we needed to find a way to snake them up through the wall and then bring them all the way to the unit that we have upstairs in a fashion that you won't know they're there. So as we walk up onto the second floor, I'm going to show you just how we did that. Now, one of the important things when you're putting an AC system in is that you have to have a cold air return. We were able to do one right behind the door here, just on this wall, but it's not in an obvious place, and it's not a color that doesn't match with the rest of the surrounding area. Now, as we come into the keeping room area here that has a modern gallery, we can see in the floor we've used floor registers of a muted color. Now, this will provide sufficient AC and cooling in here, but unless I pointed them out to you as you were walking through, you would almost never notice. All of that is controlled with a brand new Honeywell thermostat right here. It's a smart thermostat that will allow you to set whatever setting you want, keep it climate controlled, and time it throughout the week. Now, it's important for us to be able to place enough registers in each room so that the cooling will be balanced. So we're able to put one on the opposite side and then on this side, right in the corner, right here. Again, it's a muted color, and we try to put it in a way where we won't have to cut through anything that's substantial to the building, and in a fashion where it functions and will provide the cooling that's needed throughout the space. Now, it's the same thing in the front rooms. We had to find a way to get in underneath the floor systems to put floor registers in. And you'll notice we hid them right behind the furniture. Or maybe you won't notice because they're so well hidden that you'll never even know it's here. We want you to experience this building in a way that it feels completely natural. Let's head upstairs. So quite often when we're working on buildings like the Francis Wicks house, there are a couple of things that make it advantageous for us to install new technologies like HVAC. And that's usually the basement and the attic. What we did in this house is we did two different systems, one that would feed up from the basement and the other that would feed down from the attic. So on the first floor, I was able to show you the floor registers that we cut in, and they're not obvious, and the color is muted enough that it doesn't interrupt the feel of the space. So it was a similar tactic that we used on the second floor. We were able to put ceiling registers, and we hid them in spaces, in this case a corner, that wouldn't be immediately visible. And then we also used a color, white in this case, that blended in with the surrounding colors. So again, you're going to be focused on the historic attributes of this museum and the collection, which is what you should be focused on, and not the modern technology. Now, when we ran the system from the attic all the way down, I showed you the line sets that we had to put in. We had to figure out where to hide them. Right here, we have a beam that supports the building and all of the framing that goes into the roof. So it was a natural place to try to snake those line sets down. What we were able to do is add a very small extension onto this beam and then mimic exactly the molding and this bead detail that was on the original box that holds the beam. So it becomes something that once painted doesn't look obvious and looks like it's part of the natural fabric of the structure. You always want people to feel comfortable. You want visitors to experience the collection in the museum and not be wondering, what is that thing sticking out of the wall? That's very important to us because the museum and the collection is everything, not the modern convenience that's helping you enjoy it by making you comfortable. Okay, so the last thing I want to show you guys is the system that we installed upstairs. Let's take a look. Now, some people think old attics and basements in these houses are creepy. I actually really enjoy them because there's so much extra space and you can see all the details of the framing up here. Well, this provided a perfect space for us to put a new system in, just like this one right here. Now, this system is exactly the same as the system that we put down in the basement with the AC and the dehumidification. So again, it's going to keep the whole entire museum climate controlled, make it nice and comfortable. We have another Honeywell thermostat that runs this system on the second floor, but all of the visitors are never going to know anything except that it's nice and comfortable and cool when they come and enjoy the collection. It's really important not to overlook these details. So we're back today in Falmouth at the Francis Wicks house, which is part of the museum on the greens here. I'm a longtime Cape Cod resident, grew up in Sandwich, and my father used to work in Falmouth here for years. So it was a real treat for me to kind of come home and get to work on such a historic property. We're here today with Rachel Lovett, who's the director of the museum here. And Rachel, I was just wondering if you could tell everybody a little bit more about the mission of the Museum on the Greens and also the Francis Wicks house.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Mike. So the mission of the Museums on the Green, essentially it's the Falmouth Historical Society.
Yeah.
It's the oldest historical society on Cape Cod, founded in 1900, and we celebrate all things Falmouth history here.
Oh, wow.
Yes, everything Falmouth, so close to your heart, a mission.
Yep.
And we have 3 beautiful buildings here on the campus. 1730 Conant House, 1790 Dr. Francis Wicks House,
Oh, yeah.
and a cultural center where we have events. The Dr. Francis Wicks House was built in 1790, and it's sort of the heart of our campus. So this was a really important project for us to undertake.
Oh, I bet. Now, it's always exciting for us to have the opportunity to do any work at all on a building like this, but it always gets me fascinated to think about who was Dr. Francis Wicks and what did he mean for the community here?
Oh, sure. Well, Dr. Francis Wicks, it's very timely because he was a veteran of the American Revolution,
Right.
and we're just upon the 250th anniversary of the birth of America. And he was a medical doctor. He was not trained as a medical doctor back in the period. They sort of undertook that work and then sort of learned on the job. When he came back from the war, we think he might have had some time on a privateer ship, actually. He came back
Really?
with a lot of money, 300 silver coins, and he built this beautiful house. And it was a lot of money in a time that people sort of bartered for goods.
Of course.
And he became a civic leader. He founded a poorhouse. He was a member of the Freemasons here. He also started a smallpox hospital. He was quite an interesting guy.
No kidding. So we've got a gentleman that was a privateer, so anybody that was into piracy, this was for good. He's on the forefront of the modern medical system that we know today. Smallpox, and now we have a museum here that people can come and actually explore the entire collection and this tribute to him, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, if we could, I'd love to take a walk inside and actually take a look at some of the collection and see why you had called us in here even to do any work on this building.
That sounds great.
Excellent, let's go take a look. Ooh, I can feel the AC.
Yes, nice and cool now.
Yeah. Now, tell us, Rachel, we just came into this room, which looks like to me a historic kind of a back L to this building. But where are we right now, and what would this room have been used for?
Yeah, it is a back L,
Okay.
but it's very interesting. So the Historical Society acquired the building in 1934.
Okay.
And then, as with a lot of historic organizations, they had to think about how they were going to interpret the house. We're choosing to interpret it actually in the 1960s when the Historical Society now owns the property and they're doing the colonial revival. So it may not be entirely historically accurate, but it is sort of giving the impression of the period. So we talk about what the society was in the 1960s and who was involved.
Got it. Now, it's actually really interesting that you say that for me personally, because every time we take the approach of restoring a house, and Jen and I are even trying to think about how to design it, redesign it, or fit new attributes into the house to do a repair, we're trying to think of what period do we want the house to reflect? And the beautiful thing about a house like this is you have 300 years of different periods and different choices. And a lot of people don't always keep it in mind when you're thinking about that. In this case, like you said, when the Historic Society acquired the building, you think about where you're at that given time, and then you can show that off in the room here.
Yeah, the tour flows chronologically, so you get
Really?
to so you get to see different time periods, different rooms, and all
Okay.
the people who would have lived here over about 121 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I can see a room just behind us that looks like it's got part of the collection. What room is
Yeah.
this right here? Oh, wow.
Beautiful.
Oh, this room is beautiful.
Yes.
Now, what would this room have been historically?
So historically, it would have been 2 rooms.
Okay.
When the Historical Society acquired the building, they decided they wanted one large room to hold their events and parties.
Got it.
Because this was the only building they owned at the time.
Okay.
And so they made it into one large space. But originally, when the Wicks family was here, it probably would have been a parlor.
Oh, sure.
And another parlor and a dining room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And now, as I'm looking around here, you've got some fascinating pieces. Can you tell us a little bit about the collection?
Sure. So this room is interpreted interpreted to the year 1900.
Yeah.
And in 1900, there was a woman living here by the name of Julia Wood.
Okay.
And she was the individual who donated the house to the Historical Society.
Wow.
And this room depicts the luncheon she was having with the founders of the Historical Society and making that decision to donate her house, which she did in 1932. A lot of the objects in this room actually belonged to Julia, including our wonderful dining room set here, the silver, and we have a very small mini exhibition about Julia herself.
No kidding.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. It's always fascinating. A lot of people don't think about it, but when you go back in prior centuries, a lot of times women didn't own buildings or homes like this. And I keep finding them time and time again. Jen and I have run across many women throughout history that were just incremental in preserving buildings like this, and also were very smart in the way they thought about donating them to town organizations.
Yeah, well, Mike, I love that you brought that up because women in the preservation movement, specifically in America, have been really pivotal. The Mount Vernon Ladies Association was founded in 1860, of course, to preserve George Washington's home.
Right.
And to this day, it's an organization run by the Mount Vernon Ladies Association, and they receive no federal funding.
No kidding.
But they were really pioneers in the movement for preserving homes.
Yeah.
And that kind of kicked it off.
Yeah.
So women in preservation is really cool. So thank you to Julia, who donated this beautiful house to the
Exactly.
society. As a museum, we're trying to preserve this space as best possible and make it a welcoming environment for our visitors, our tour guides, and of course our collection.
Right.
So I had spent about a decade in Maryland, so in the American South.
Yes.
And almost universally down there, historic house museums are with AC for obvious reasons.
Makes sense.
And when I came here to Falmouth, it was sort of a natural thing. We need to continue preserving this house. It does need AC.
As we tell people all the time, when you're going to put new technology into an old structure like this, you have to be very sympathetic to it, and you don't want to really even know it's here. You can't see it, but you can feel it, right? And the collection benefits, the people benefits, the tour guides, everybody that helps marshal the resources here, it just makes it that much more welcoming to everybody to come in, right?
Exactly, yes.
Well, let's take another look. I'd like to see the rest of the collection. Oh, wow. Yeah. I love the colors here, and the pieces are just beautiful. What would this room have been historically?
Yes, so we have this set up as a parlor,
Okay.
dating to the year 1805, and we actually have it as a courting parlor.
Ah!
Yes, Dr. Francis Wicks, he had one child, a daughter, and in this room we talk about the courtship of 19-year-old Susan,
Okay.
and she's dating Captain John Crocker, who's 33, and he's very worldly, he's been around the
Of course he is.
And we talk about, some of the challenges that they faced, including a very Jane Austen-like story.
Really?
They started out very, very wealthy. Unfortunately, Captain John made a series of bad business investments, and they and their 13 children actually ended up in the poorhouse that ironically her father had helped start. So a real
No
twist
kidding.
of fate. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, that is a very Jane Austen-esque story.
Absolutely, yeah. And actually, we do a Jane Austen tour to kind of compare and contrast the Wicks family
No kidding.
to Austen's characters,
Oh,
which has been
wow.
popular, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine, because there's been a big resurgence in that now. And you can just see, looking around this room, the different colors and textures, and you could imagine the young couple courting in this room. It just seems like something right out of the television shows.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's great. What do we have over here?
Yes, so we're walking back in time now, and here we are.
This room completely fascinates me. Now, this looks like it might have been his doctor's office?
Exactly, yes.
Wow.
We have this dated to the year 1795.
Okay.
And of course he's back from the war at this period.
Right.
A beautiful house is built. And he's actually thinking about starting a smallpox hospital on what is now Nobska Light.
Okay.
The lighthouse is there now, but
Yeah.
he and his medical partner, Dr. Hugh Donaldson, started an early smallpox hospital.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, this gentleman just had his finger on the pulse of everything. It sounds like he was never sitting still and just kept trying to think of new innovations and different things that he could do, correct?
Yeah, and that's a great point, because Oftentimes with historic homes, are we going to bring AC back and things like
Right.
that? But he was on the forefront of technology. He would have loved AC in his house.
Anybody, any museum that thinks they shouldn't use technology, they should just get on board, because that's what Dr. Francis Wicks would have done.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, we think about people that would have lived in a house of this time period very stoically, I think a lot of times, like they would have been very primitive, but they really just were trying to adapt the technology that they could afford at the time, just like any of us. And AC would have been one of them that they would have wanted to have.
Oh, I bet they would have loved that.
You just need to be very sympathetic to it. In fact, you can't even find the register in this room unless I were to point it out to you. It's not obvious, but you can quietly now enjoy this room without being interrupted with something that doesn't feel like it fits.
Yeah, they're very inconspicuous.
Yep.
I had to point them out to my staff to even know where they are.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. So it's like they've always been here. It's
That's
wonderful.
great.
Yeah.
Well, no, Rachel, thank you so much. This was such a treat for us to even have the opportunity to work on this building. And I really hope that it continues to promote the Museum on the Greens, and it welcomes even more people in here, every season to come.
Oh, it was such a pleasure. Really enjoyed working with Full Circle Homes.
If we can do anything to help you in the future, just let us know.
We'll keep that in mind.
Excellent, thank you.
My experience working with Full Circle Homes was wonderful. They were very professional, attentive, and the project exceeded expectations.
We're so glad that you guys joined us down here in Falmouth at the Museum on the Greens, our project at the Francis Wicks House. This was a pleasure. It's kind of like a dream come true. Jen and I both love historic house museums, and we'd encourage all of you guys to come check them out here in Falmouth at the Museum on the Greens. Check out the rest of our videos, and don't forget to like and subscribe.